Yes, indeed. It's one more sleep till we play for keeps. Welcome to NFL Total Access Season Preview presented by EA Sports Madden NFL 20. She's Lindsay Rhodes. I'm Scott Hansen. We are ready for some football.
Ooh, like beyond ready. And Ezekiel Elliott says he is too. The Cowboys running back with the team, practicing for Sunday's game with an impressive new title to add to his resume. Highest paid running back of all time. A 6-year extension worth $90 million, $50 million guaranteed, signed, sealed, and delivered all in time for practice this morning.
Honestly, what helped me get through is just the support of the guys in this building. Just communicating with them every day, and them just supporting me. I mean, that meant a lot. One of my teammates told me, don't come back without a deal. Just support like that from this group of guys it meant everything. And it would definitely have been harder if things were the opposite. Just the biggest thing, during negotiations was, that was important with the Joneses, and was that, we're trying to keep this team together, and because we have a good young team.
When you hear that you're the highest paid running back in NFL history, what goes through your mind?
Just the journey to get there, just where I started, and finally being here, and then what I have to do to forget what I'm trying to say. I just got to take it to the next level now, basically what I'm trying to say.
Back and ready to go, and I know Jane Slater has more information about that. First, though, Ian Rappaport, about the deal itself. It looks on the surface like Zeke got everything he wanted. What did the Cowboys want that held this up?
And no doubt, Lindsay, this is a deal that Zeke Elliott and his people love. He got to be the highest paid running back in football, $15 million per year, got $50 guaranteed, got $38.1 million through 3 years payout. There's a lot that Zeke likes, but the Cowboys also got some things. The most important for the Dallas Cowboys, this is a 6-year extension, so they got to lock up one of the best running backs in football to a huge sum, of course, but for 8 total years at $103 million, setting the market price now and basically giving Elliott the only real huge deal that he's going to see. So yes, they paid a lot right now, but this is something in 2 years and 3 years is probably going to end up being a bargain. That is something the Cowboys do, get their homegrown, really good players to long contracts, locking them in. The other thing they got is they got a big sum at the end of the contract, $16.6 million base salary in the final year. That's a lot, something the Cowboys may not have to pay if they decide to part ways with them in 2026. But it doesn't matter, Jane, because all the Cowboys really care about now is getting one of their best players in and using him a lot.
And you could tell this is worn on Ezekiel Elliott a little bit as well. We were able to catch up with him today, Ian, and you saw him in the video earlier. You heard him talk. He kind of stumbled there at the end when he was talking about sort of his expectations for himself this year. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact he was a bit delirious. He said he only had about an hour and a half of sleep last night. He went to bed in a bad place. We had talked about it throughout the day. This contract was described as close, but there wasn't without drama last night. This thing, they tabled it at 10:45. Rocky Arsenault came back to the table at 4 a.m. And Zeke said he got a phone call at 6:15 after you and I, about 15 minutes, Ian, after you and I put this stuff out there. He got the call. In fact, he said they had to give him a couple of calls to wake him up. He then got his way here to practice, and as he's described it, look, he feels good. The heat got to him a little bit today, but if asked to carry the load, he could. But they're going to be careful with him this week. They want to see where he's at. And so the goal right now is to get him to play on Sunday, but he said he wants to be deliberate. It's a long season. He doesn't want to risk injury.
Jane Slater, Ian Rappaport, great work, guys. Thank you very much.
Well, Lindsay, in terms of new money in Zeke's contract, his average salary makes him the highest paid running back in football. And in a fascinating coincidence, this deal gets done on the same day Jerry Jones rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange.
Well, I just turned my pockets out upstairs. It means I'm $100 million lighter. as of this morning. But seriously, Zeke has been arguably our best player. I'm not trying to be unfair to anybody else, but he's an incremental part to our success. We're glad to get him booked in. We're glad to have him on the team. He plays a position that has some pretty interesting dynamics to it. Zeke allows us to create such problems for the defense that then we can open it up to our passing, open it up for Dak Prescott. Of course, we got to have some guys on defense to get those guys the ball. That's what this is all about.
All right, the finances are done. It's time to play football for Ezekiel Elliott. I know Cowboy fans love that. Couple of Super Bowl champions right here. 3 rings himself. Willie McGinnis on my left. Sean O'Hara on my right. Guys, he said he got the call at 6 a.m. roughly that the deal was done. By 7 a.m., he said he was in the facility there, had a full Wednesday to go through. 4 days to get ready for week 1. What should the plan be for Zeke?
For Zeke, you know, he's fresh legs. He's rested. I think the game is going to dictate how many reps he gets. But for the Cowboys, they want to just know, does he have his legs underneath him in practice? Because if he looks good Thursday and Friday, I don't see any way they don't give him 20 carries. Here's the one thing about Zeke. He gets stronger as the game goes along. If this game is tight in the fourth quarter, he's been their closer. So, Scott, I expect them to go to him. When you look at these runs right here, all right, the one thing Zeke does with every single one of these runs, look at him finishing with power. You never see Zeke fall backwards. Every single one of these runs, he's finishing with explosive runs. Look at him diving in the end zone. That's Luke Kuechly right there that he just outran. Even versus an 8-man box, he can account for the safety, all right? There's always going to be one guy in an 8-man box you've got to beat. There he is running away from the safety. He'll run through the safety. He'll jump over the safety, which we saw him do in Philly. Here he is running through contact. So he's been one of the most violent and physical running backs in the league. But not only did he lead the league in rushing last year, all right, he leads the league in every statistic in the fourth quarter. So this guy, with the game on the line, there is no way the Cowboys aren't going to lean on him if they need him to in this game.
So you expect full 4 quarters, and it's Zeke as usual?
I think they may temper him in the first half.
Okay.
But in the second half, if this game is, if it's tight, and if it comes down to the fourth quarter, they're giving Zeke the ball.
What's the smart play, Willie?
I think first you got to evaluate what type of shape he's in when you're evaluating a player coming in that hasn't been there. Zeke never really took carries in the preseason anyway. He's like a quarterback in a red jersey, so he never took hits, never took snaps. So you're never going to say, oh, he needs to get in there and get some hits. That's not what you do with Ezekiel Elliott. The other thing is when you look at their system and what they're trying to do, I think they're going to establish the game in the running game with Zeke. It may be 10 carries, it may be whatever the case may be. Coaches also evaluate as the game goes on, where the game is. So when you talk about that, the other big thing with this whole thing with Zeke is we talk about them opening up other facets to the passing game. If Dak in the passing game is doing really well, I don't think you have to feed him as much. You want to take it slow once you get in control of the game. If you're up, somebody else may get some other reps. If it's a close game, like Sean mentioned, then you mix things up a little bit more.
Last word, make it quick.
They're going to lean on this offensive line, to your point. They want to play smash mouth football. 2 things that jump out at me with Zeke. Last year, he led the league in explosive runs. That's over 10 yards. Here's the other thing he led the league in. Fumbles. All right, he had 6 fumbles. Actually, Tariq Cohen had more, but he put the ball on the turf 6 times. That's one thing that they want to keep their eye on because he hasn't had contact. So that ball security's got to be number 1 for him.
I can tell you this, Sunday, 2 of the best running backs in the game, Zeke and Saquon on the same field. Sign us up. Lindsay?